Hi, welcome back to Book Club with Kirsten. I am so glad that you are back for my April reading wrap up. Yes, my hair is wet. I just took a shower, so you're welcome. I just could not wait to talk about everything I read in April and share it with you all. So let's just jump right into it. If you watched my last video, you know that I read Gideon the Ninth and Nona the Ninth. I jumped into the Locked Tomb series after trying it a few years ago and not really being able to get a good grip on it and trying it again. And I loved it. I thought it was phenomenal. Gideon and Nona, they are like some of my favorite things that I've read so far this year. So beginning of April, I finished out what has been published so far and read Nona the Ninth. The problem I have is with every book that I read in this series, I felt like I understood less about the world and less about the politics and less about who was on whose side and who was alive and who was dead. It was just really difficult for me to follow because I am first and foremost a character reader. Second most, not really a sci-fi reader. So I was just having a really hard time like following the politics and again, who was dead and who was alive. And I don't know why. I like read all of 3 books in succession, so I'm not really sure why I had such a hard time following it, but I did. So yeah, and I didn't love Nona's story quite as much as I liked the other ones. Like I really, really liked the character of Gideon and I really, really liked the character of Harrow. And so not having them was like strange. So yeah, I don't know. Nona the Ninth was okay. It was good, and I will read Electa the Ninth whenever it comes out. But yeah, I don't know. Nona the Ninth was okay. That's kind of just what I got from it. And then I needed a good romance. I needed a good rom-com, something to make me feel good. So I found An Academic Affair. Guys, this was so good. It was, I loved it. So when it comes to romance for me, I care more about emotional stakes than I do sexual stakes. I don't care about a sexual payoff. I want an emotional payoff. And although in An Academic Affair, of course, you get a sexual payoff, I feel like it was fine because the emotional payoff mattered way more. So we are following our 2 characters, Sadie and Jonah, and they have been academic rivals their entire life. They have just been fighting back and forth in their college life, and they each have like personal upbringings that have made them work really, really hard towards pursuing a career in academia. And just coincidentally, they've been on the same track the entire time. And a job listing comes up that's like perfect for the both of them. And they each have their own reasons for going and interviewing, and it ends up being that Jonah, his sister, lives in the area where the job is going to be, and she just went through a really traumatic experience with her husband. He left them and she's got kids, and she could really, really use the help. And so she's just so excited, and Jonah hasn't even got the job yet, but she's just like thrilled that she could have help from her brother. And Sadie grew up without parents around. She just has her older sister, and she has really been taught like, you can do anything you set your mind to, like you need this, you have worked so hard. And so it turns out that one of them, Sadie, gets the job, and she just feels this like guilt because she knows Jonah's sister like needs him. And so they end up figuring out that there is a clause in the hire where they can do a partner hire, but they have to be married. So Sadie proposes that they get married, of course, because why wouldn't you? So that way that Jonah could get hired and move and help his sister. So he agrees, and they move to where this job is and live together and teach together, and it's just really, really sweet. I loved the characters and just how they were like fully formed emotional characters. Like there wasn't, it felt like the pacing was really good. The emotional pacing was really good. It felt like we were really walking alongside them as they were figuring out emotionally what they were feeling. And again, it was so emotional. It wasn't just sexual, and I loved that. I loved that so much. So I highly recommend. The side characters were also so good. Like, there's a whole, I wonder if she's gonna do another one, because there's this whole like side story with Jonah's sister and then this vineyard owner. And yeah, like, it's just, it was so sweet. It was so well done. I really, really enjoyed it. I really like want to go back and listen to it again because they're Australian. So it was so fun to listen to people speak in my car and in my headphones in Australian accents, and I'd like be in the car driving and they would say something like obviously a way I don't say it, and I would repeat it back out loud in the car like a crazy person. So this is editing Kirsten. I forgot to mention that they talk about going to the airport a lot, and all I could think about was that scene from Bluey that was like a TikTok sound for a while, talking about going to the airport, and the little girl, I don't know which one it is, she's like, airport? We're not going to the airport. And that was like on repeat in my head, so.
Bingo, you get to go to the airport tomorrow.
Airport? I'm not going to the airport.
That was An Academic Affair. I really, really loved it. I think it's been my favorite romance so far, and I don't think I've read a whole lot this year yet, but favorite romance so far. I really, really liked it. Next, I read If We Were Villains, which was my April book club book, and I really, really liked this. So If We Were Villains is kind of a dark academia kind of murder mystery where we are following, I think it's 6 characters who are in college, and they are studying the arts. So these particular main characters are in theater, and they specify in Shakespearean plays. And so we're following them in the beginning as they are just kind of, you're getting the feel of their roles. Like, everyone kind of has a role, and that's very clearly communicated. And they have this showcase that they do, and they're like predicting who's going to get what roles, and the cast list comes out, and it is different than what they predicted, like different than what it has been the past 4 years of their college journey together. And we have this kind of shift in the dynamic between the friend group, of course, and we see one character in particular, Richard, just kind of become angry and acting just kind of manic towards his friends and towards just acting in general. He gets really like violently aggressive with people on stage while they're like in the middle of a show and in the middle of rehearsals, and it's become concerning to all of the group. And so they have this party after this particular show. They have a party, and Richard is being very aggressive and very like loud and drunk and brazen, and he ends up storming off to go be by himself basically. And we come to find out the next day that he has died. This story is told from the perspective of, his name is evading me right now, but it's told from a different character's perspective, and he is kind of stereotyped as like the quiet one of the group, the one that just kind of lets things happen to him, and he is an observer, and he doesn't really like put himself out there very much. He just lets things happen to him. And there is another character in the book, Meredith, who is kind of like the group hussy. I don't know. She is dating Richard, but she's just like kind of known for being like the sexy one, and she's been trying to come on to our main character. And that night when Richard like has a blowout, him and Meredith, our main character and Meredith, sleep together, and Richard like finds out. Well, it turns out the next morning Richard is dead. He is in the lake floating, dead, and no one knows what happened. Supposedly no one knows. And from then on, we have some sort of clue, though, that our main character did it, because the opening scene is him coming out of jail. So what you think is happening is you're getting a like kind of tell all about what happened and how he ended up killing Richard. But we know from the narrative that he was sleeping with Meredith the whole night and like encountered someone else in the group. And so you're just kind of going through the motions of the book and discovering evidence as they discover evidence and figuring out what happens, and then eventually it leads to a confession and then an arrest. And I really liked it because I felt like there was really good commentary, or not commentary. I think it was really interesting the way that it seemed like when someone became the main character of one of the plays, like Richard, he was overcome with this like big head, basically, like stardom, power that made him invincible, and then when that was taken away from him, he like blew up. And we see this happen after Richard died. They're still doing plays, and you can see this kind of thing take over the actors as they like step into their character. And so it kind of feels like Shakespeare plays in this college are haunted, kind of, is what I was getting from it. Like, there's just this weird haunting thing that happens when you're in a Shakespeare play, and especially when you're the lead. So I really enjoyed it. There is a twist at the end. I don't want to spoil that. And I don't know. It was okay. I think it was, I was surprised by it, but I was also disappointed by it. Like, I didn't see it coming because I was just enjoying the story, but it was like, I don't know. It didn't give me a satisfactory ending, really. So, and not that every book has to give you a satisfactory ending. That's not what I'm saying. I just, with the arc of the book, it ended in a way that was just unsatisfactory. So that was If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. I highly recommend it. I think it is a great dark academia, experience in college, haunting, creepy. There's just something there, murder mystery. So If We Were Villains, M.L. Rio. And next I was kind of on this, I guess, murder mystery kick. So I read In Deadly Company by L.S. Stratton, and it was okay. I wasn't super impressed by it, but I read it really fast. So in Deadly Company, we are following our main character, Nicole, who is an executive assistant at this like really uppity company that does like organic health foods, I think. And her boss, the CEO, Bridget, had recently died. And she is the executive assistant now to the woman's son, Xander. He like took over her role as CEO. And she is his EO and hates it. Like, he is he's a spoiled brat, and he is not fun. Like, he's not cool to be around. And we are also, what's interesting about this book is it's told in two different timelines. So in first person perspective, we are following Nicole in now. So in current time, we're in first person perspective, and she is having a movie made about her life. And it is just following her on set and meeting with the actors and noticing that there are like changes and having to reconcile with that. And in third person, like in regular point of view, is the events of where this, like what the movie is going to be made about. So the son, Xander, wants to have this like huge blowout banging party, and he is like, you, Nicole, are going to plan it. And Nicole's like, okay, but I'm quitting after this. So she plans the party, and that's where the bulk of this story takes place, is her planning the party and being at the party. So we're at the party, and it's like a 3-day, like I said, a 3-day bender of just crazy, wacky, fun times. And they just kind of weird things kind of happen throughout the story. So Nicole is getting really cryptic text messages from somebody that we don't know. And we discover that she has hired some actor / con men to try and help her figure out what happened to Bridget, because she doesn't believe that Bridget died just by driving off of the road. Like, she thinks that there was some foul play involved, and she thinks that Xander had something to do with it. And so she hired these people to try and help her get information on Xander. And throughout this party, we see just relationships kind of falling apart and truths coming out, and these like letters get slid under people's doors that kind of explode Nicole's plan on trying to figure out what happened. Come to find out, fast forward this if you don't want spoilers, but come to find out, Bridget has been alive this whole time. And she was using Nicole to try and figure out who wanted to plot her murder. And so that was kind of like the gotcha moment. But what really happened also at the party, almost everyone died except for Nicole, her little boy toy con man, a child, and the girl con woman she hired. Everyone else is dead. Everyone like suspicious is dead. And that's when Bridget like makes her huge reveal that she's alive and that she's working with Nicole, except she kind of like betrayed Nicole. And it was fine. I feel like we didn't need the movie plot point. Like that seemed totally useless to me. I didn't think it was just like a random device used to push the story along. And I feel like it would have been more interesting if it was told in first person perspective throughout just the party. Like, I think that would have made it more fun to follow along with, being surprised by every twist and turn instead of it being like predicted at the end of the first person chapter and then going into what was happening at the party. And yeah, I just think we didn't need the movie set thing. That could have come at the end, maybe as an epilogue that this was happening. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. It was okay. I read it again really fast, but I think that there could have just been a few changes that would have made it a really like stellar murder mystery. It could have been very, very good, but here we are. So that is In Deadly Company. Next I read And Now Back to You by B.K. Borison. I really thought I enjoyed, what is the first one? First Time Caller. I really thought I enjoyed First Time Caller. I didn't like And Now Back to You. I really loved the setup. I really, really liked the two competing, it was like the radio show and the actual news. There's a big storm coming, and so the weather girl and the weather guy from those two things were going to go on a trip to report on the storm that was coming, like in where the mess of it was going to be. And you can tell like there's all of these obstacles put in their way by the girl's boss because he's like sexist, and it ends up where they have to like share a room and share a bed. I feel like we were missing so much emotionally. What I had in Academic Affair was just a one-time thing, because in And Now Back to You, it felt like our characters had no depth. Like, I didn't know who these people were, and I think she tried. Like, I feel like there was some semblance of wanting to give us things to care about our characters, like with the guy's little sisters that he had to take care of, and the girl's like crazy boss. But it just didn't hit for me. I feel like all of the emotional beats weren't there. It just felt like I don't know, it didn't have a whole lot of substance. So it wasn't my favorite, unfortunately. I really like other BK Borison stuff, but this one, it just felt rushed and underdeveloped, and yeah, that's all I really had to say about it. I didn't like it very much. And then lastly, I read Half His Age by Jeanette McCurdy, and boy do I wish I didn't. First mistake was listening to it on audio. Second mistake was just reading it in general. So I read I'm Glad My Mom Died. I thought it was phenomenal. I thought it was a great look into the world of like child acting and eating disorders and like all of this stuff that is so important that people talk about. So I was really, really excited about Jeanette McCurdy's like debut novel. And first of all, it's just like gross and vulgar, and I know there are so many people that are like, it's supposed to be that way, it's supposed to be uncomfortable, it's supposed to be gross. At what point does something like that become CSAM is my question. I don't know. It just didn't hit for me. I maybe I'm not deep enough for it. I don't know. I just didn't like it. I didn't like the premise. I didn't like the execution. I didn't like how vulgar and gross it was. It just was not for me. I was not the target audience at all, unfortunately. I wish I had been, but I was not. So yeah, that was Half His Age. I rated it very low, unfortunately, because also not only was the story not for me, I just think the writing wasn't fully there. Like, I don't know who her editor was, but I don't know. I think there was, I don't know. I just didn't like it. I didn't like it. Yeah. So that was April. I am so glad that you watched this with me and followed along on all the books I'm reading. If you take anything from this, read An Academic Affair, read If We Were Villains. That's all you need to know. The other books, take it or leave it. You can have them if you want, and if you don't want to read them, that's fine too. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I am just so happy that I get to do this in my free time. If you want to find me on TikTok, it's the same handle, Book Club with Kirsten. I am currently doing a series where I try and visit every bookstore in Tennessee. I have posted about 2 so far. I have another one coming out very soon. So I am very excited about that. So you can find me on TikTok. I also post shorts on here as well. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.